Hello and welcome, everyone, to Hypnosis Hero. That's right, everyone's favorite show featuring live hypnosis and interviews with literally the world's greatest hypnotists. Tonight's guest is no exception. In fact, I would say he's at the top of the food chain as far as world's greatest hypnotists go. You'll find out why. By the way, I may be working the Barry White voice tonight. I'm a little bit under the weather. I may be checking into hospice, so if I have to go away, I have a severe case of man cold, which is awful, of course. Tonight's guest, you know what? He's not just a colleague. I'm a fan. Really, I genuinely am a fan of his work. Been following him for years, and he does so many interesting things. You're going to find out soon. Some of the interesting stuff that he does. I mean, there's just too many to count, really. I mean, I'll try to get more to it when I get to his bio. But first of all, grab the book. If your life sucks, if it's just mediocre, it still works for you. If you know somebody, friend, family member, brother, sister, ex, whatever, grab this book for them. Change their life. Plus, they might even laugh a little bit. I'm super excited. It's been out 2 months, and sales are going through the. They're doing well. They're doing okay. First thing we have to not the first thing we already did. The first thing, the next thing we have to do is bring on my good friend, my I can't remember what I call him now. My Tonto. Can we still say Tonto? I don't know. My Kimosabe, my sidekick, my buddy, my colleague, my friend, Brian Bay, everybody.
Greetings, Kimosabe.
Greetings. I shouldn't go any further down this road. We're going to get canceled. All right.
Oh no,
I don't even know what we can say now. I don't even know. So.
At this point, there's a part of me that just doesn't care. I'm just going to go Dave Chappelle style, Bill Burr, just a couple of legends in the industry, and they're just like, you know what, we're just going to send it.
And you know what? We will surely be pardoned by the new president. So, boom, there you go.
We might even be pardoned by the current one. He's just sending it out there with everybody.
I think you have to commit felonies for that, though.
No, you don't.
Oh, okay.
Because his son was. I don't think he was sentenced or formally adjudicated, and then he was like, okay, here's stuff that's now and then back like 20 years, and then there's talk of granting pardons to a bunch of other people, Anthony Fauci, those types of stuff. And the trend that I'm seeing online is, and this isn't politics, we're going to go more current events, is it's like, wait a minute, you have to be guilty of something in order to be pardoned.
Well, if we start going down this road, let's not go back to the past administration when they were talking about pardoning themselves. Okay.
Well, and one of the genuine questions that I have is, I remember back with the classified documents that were at Biden's house in Delaware from when he was the vice president.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, yeah, that was like a not good thing. We're looking into this, and he's not mentally sound to stand trial, so we're not going to charge him. But he's going to continue to run the country and grant all of these pardons. And I guess now there might be some legal challenges on the validity of those. But you could not pay me to be a congressperson in this clown show that's going on right now.
I mean, we all just have to remember that they all lie, and they're all pulling all kinds of stuff behind the scenes, and we have no idea what's going on.
I'm going to focus on better days are coming.
Better days are coming.
I'm looking forward to more favorable gas prices, a stronger economy that's more equitable for, or not like it's in our favor that we're taking advantage of other people, but like we're not getting just power fisted by other economies as much. We want them to
I don't think
help
we can
out.
say. I don't think we can say power fisted, Brian. I don't think we can.
If AVE from British Columbia can say those on his tool reviews and things like that, I think we're safe.
Brian. Okay, here's what I want you to do. On January 19th, 2025, I want you to write down the price of gasoline, eggs, and bread. We're going to check back in a year, and we're going to see where it's at. And as I said before, the price of eggs is not a good reason to vote for somebody. But anyway, all right, there's a lot of ways to look at it. Brian, what's been going on in your life?
I'm almost officially back from the dead. I'm not quite out of the woods yet, as you can hear from my voice.
Just out of hospice.
But yeah,
barely made it.
Coming back from a stage 4 man cold. I think you're right in like stage 1.5, almost stage 2. But it was I think, were you guys on last week?
Shawn was.
Oh yeah, now it's coming back to me. Like, I don't remember. You were like, I've got a conflict, and I'm like, I'm clinging to life. I'm in bed with, a bottle of NyQuil and a Gatorade. It was just 1 for 1, almost. But
best. Yeah, I love the NyQuil. I don't even remember why I wasn't here last week. Oh, that's right. Oh, dude,
you had a show.
No, it's worse, dude. So had friends.
Don't you bring your wife into this and go even worse. That's how irreconcilable differences start, Jim. Jazz hands.
She never watches the show, of course. They never do. Dude, I had to drive her and her 2 friends from Vietnam to Leavenworth. Yeah.
I'm going to go with you did a risk mitigation mission.
I don't know exactly, but it was terrible. It was awful. I will swear on my dying breath that I had a great time, but it was freaking awful. So if you guys don't know this, go Google Leavenworth, Washington. It's a cute little German town. And hey, I don't mind going over there in like April, May, something like that. But at other times of year, it's snowy. And I mean, that's why they want to go, because they don't get to see snow. I don't care. I don't get to see some things too, and I'm okay with that. But drove them over 2.5 hours over, 2.5 hours back. Worried the whole time we're going to get stuck in snow.
Was that traffic or?
No, just had to go slow because the roads were kind of crappy. There was no snow, but it had snowed earlier. And I like to drive with an abundance of caution so I don't die. But speaking of dying, Mai actually drove for about an hour and we survived. So
you saw powdery white stuff on the side of the road and went, "Not today, Satan," and jumped in the front seat.
And here's another thing, I've eaten at all the German. You've been to Leavenworth, yeah?
Oh yeah. We did a motorcycle ride July 4th. Went ripped out there.
Perfect time.
Hung out for a little bit, got some ice cream, and zipped back in time enough in time for fireworks.
Dude,
because fireworks don't start up here until like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, the ice cream place there is phenomenal. Love that place. Awesome. I've eaten at several German restaurants and have decided I do not like German food at all, even though my heritage is apparently German. The best restaurant in Leavenworth, Washington, and I'm saying this for the record, is the Italian restaurant, people. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. We'll find out what our guest thinks about that. Also,
you heard it here, folks. Jim will not put schnitzel in his mouth.
Well, not anymore.
That's for you, Scott.
Not anymore. I won't. I've put enough schnitzel in my mouth to know I don't like it. We got some. We got.
God, this is. Oh, okay. I've got to say it.
Don't do it.
Tell me you went to private school without telling me you went to private school.
Come rescue you guys.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you. Thank you, Shawn.
Before we all get banned off of every platform.
Yeah.
We self-identify we identify as an appropriate show, Shawn. And if anybody says anything else, they're racist.
Welcome back to the show. I know you were wife napped last week, Jim, and Brian was under the weather. Now he's kind of on par with the weather. So
Yeah. But I'm still dying, Shawn. I'm still dying.
no, you're not. You don't have time for that.
Yeah, there's no time for that. I'm so far behind. If I owe
So-
you emails, books, whatever, I've been dead for a week. So
You talk about what was that NyQuil stuff that
NyQuil.
you guys? No. We need to bring you a bottle of the really, really good stuff from Canada.
Oh,
Maple syrup is in medicine form now?
No. It tastes nothing like maple syrup. It'll burn going down. It'll burn coming out. But it'll clean you out and you'll be just
sounds
fine.
amazing.
Oh, God.
Are you sure we're not talking about Taco Bell burritos?
I mean, you can get some Vietnamese and Thai food that'll do the same thing. I mean,
so true.
No, I've heard rumors about those. It's okay.
What's the name of this magical concoction, Shawn?
Oh, it's a secret.
Oh. Okay.
No, actually, I will, for the sake of making sure everybody knows, it is called Buckley's.
Buckley's.
Yes, I
There's
will
your
bring up
product-
a.
there's your product spotlight for tonight.
Well, yeah, it could be.
There we go. Exactly.
But Buckley's
Sponsored
is
by
essentially menthol in some goo, and boy, it like I said, it tastes bad going down. In fact, that was their motto for all through the 80s. When they taste bad, but it works. And most Canadians will swear by that. And of course, the big one, rub Vicks on your chest. Vicks Vapor Rub.
I did put the Vicks. I wonder, Shawn, if your Buckley's is just NyQuil from the 80s, because it used to taste so
NyQuil
awful.
tastes way better.
Oh, wow. Because 80s NyQuil was awful. They have cherry flavor now, orange flavor. The kids don't even understand what we went through. They just had one flavor, and it was god awful.
Not at all. Not even close.
The one flavor, green.
Yeah.
It was just death. And
We had Chris writing in saying elderberry syrup with cinnamon, cloves, and ginger. See, that would taste even way better than Buckley's.
I'm just waiting for. I'm like reading. I'm like, okay, where's the little sprinkle, a hint of pumpkin spice in it? Because it's that time of year.
Well, cinnamon, cloves, and ginger. Isn't that close to pumpkin spice?
I don't know, Shawn. I'm a straight male.
Or so you say. So not there's anything wrong with that. So let's say hello to a couple people. Paulette is here. Hello, Paulette. Of course, Scott's here with the best comments of all. And I'm on the receiving end once again, just like my college experience, apparently.
All right, I'm going home.
Scott says, clearly Jim had a good
crap, I'm here.
Experience. And it tastes bad, but it works. So it's like that schnitzel Jim had in college. No, I did not have any schnitzel in college. As far as you know. Carissa, elderberry syrup with cinnamon, cloves, and ginger is my go-to for almost any ailment, and it tastes good. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now we know.
Notice there's no pineapple in it.
Thank God. It's a little bit late, Carissa. Now we're both out of hospice care, fortunately, but we will remember that for next time. I should say, my actually had a cold also, but it was the women's version, so of course not very severe at all. But man cold being what it is. Shawn, how have you been? Are you doing all right? Are you sick? You okay?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, good.
I am, as Mr. Data would say, functioning within established parameters.
Man, how do you fit so much nerd talk in there? It's just amazing. How do you get so much in there? Like, you're just like it's just.
You realize that every person that's in the chat is just as nerdy as I am.
And that's why I love nerds and geeks. Love them all.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is proof that I'm still slightly medicated, because
as if we haven't had enough.
No, you hear me out on this. At first, I know you said functioning, But what came through my mind was
Don't say it.
Not
like
functioning.
multiples of feng shui, and I was like,
Oh,
Sean's getting down, getting funky tonight, feng shui, and I'm like, wait a minute.
No.
everybody feng shui tonight.
This is what happens when you glance
Don't
at
check my 80s songs, Jim.
you glance off at a different screen for a quick second to look at comments, and
Okay,
oh, man.
Paulette has the best remedy right there. Whiskey, honey, lemon, and hot tea. Bravo.
Yeah.
I believe they call that a hot toddy.
Hot toddy, yeah.
Don't talk about my mom that way.
Was my grandparents. When I showed their picture at Remembrance Day, their cure-all was exactly that, along with a hot mustard plast. So it didn't matter if you know, it was a chest cold or whatever. They would take mustard and they would mix it so that they would make a little bit of a plaster, and hot and right on the chest, and draw everything out.
Wow. Guys, I think it's time we bring on our fabulous guest today, our hero for the night. And I got to tell you guys, this guy, I don't know how much you guys know about Shawn, do you know Albert?
Not personally, but we did meet, I believe last year at PHS. Albert was he was an online speaker.
Okay, yeah.
Or first year at PHS, one of the two.
So I've been following this guy for a long time, and not in a creepy way, Brian. But he's done. I mean, honestly, it's way too difficult to even fit everything he does into one show because, Lord, the guy is just always doing something new. He's a renowned hypnologist, and I love that term. He's a filmmaker. He's a speaker celebrated for his innovative contributions to hypnosis and human behavior studies, and that's no BS. He's delivered talks at prestigious platforms such as TEDx, 2 TEDx talks, I believe, Idea City, captivating audiences worldwide. Also, again, at the Performing Hypnosis Summit, Hypno Thoughts, other hypnosis conferences. He's pioneered concepts like the hypnotic bar, where participants experience intoxication without hypnosis being consumed. He's done cinematic hypnosis, utilizing visual media to induce hypnotic states. As a hypnotherapist, he offers confidential sessions addressing issues such as anxiety, weight loss, stopping smoking, and hypnotic vacation, hypnotic laughter. He's an acclaimed filmmaker. He directed Laughology. He's exploring the science of laughter and who are you? You are what you act. Let's see. In 2012, Greatest.com named him among the 100 most influential people in health and happiness. And it's been downhill ever since. No. And Nerenberg's work continues to push boundaries. I mean, he's been involved with some sexology. He's done some, been involved with LaughX. I just don't even know how to tell. This is what I was going to, the transition was supposed to be. And he does cold water plunges, people. He jumps into the icy cold waters of Canada and survives. So please, everyone, welcome to the show, Mr. Albert Nerenberg.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Hi. Thank
Wow.
you for that. That was an amazing introduction, I got to say.
Wow. I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed. I mean, we always have great guests on. You are really just so many things. Who knows how you have the time for all this? But I do find it's like they say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. And I think that's what we're looking at here. Albert, did we miss anything on the bio there?
No, I thought you covered it pretty well. I mean, the only thing I think you said is the hypnotic bar is without. I think you mentioned it was without hypnosis. It's actually without alcohol.
I mean, alcohol, yeah, right.
But no, I think that was pretty fair, and no, it's fantastic. I really have no complaints. That guy the guy does sound interesting. I've been having some good laughs listening to you guys. I got to say, it's good work. Yeah, really.
Well, there's a fair amount of frivolity that goes on here.
Scott says germs can't survive where Shawn lives, and I'm like, well, alcohol kills germs.
True.
I'm no doctor.
Mark
And
That's
then,
because we have
Barris,
real beer.
speaking of Shawn, send over powers real fast.
Yep.
Mark Barris is watching. Thank you, Mark. Rubbing Vicks on the feet. And hello, Paulette says hello to Albert.
Hello.
Excuse me. So, tell us. So you've had done 2 TEDx talks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what were each of those about?
So, first one was I think I should apologize first of all. I should mention I have an injury, a cold water swimming injury. But my left eye, a bit bloodshot. I was going to say I was shot in the eye, and I'm doing okay.
It was rebounding ice.
The power of hypnosis.
Yeah, I was going to do the red blood eye induction. So I'm prepared. So I apologize if I look a bit scary, but I hope I'll be better soon. So thank you for that question. The first TEDx I did was called "Is Hypnosis Fake?" And as we know, I think many hypnotists sort of wrestle with this, where people thinking that what we do is theater, or is somehow imposterish or fake. And I wanted the simple idea was. I sort of explained why people think hypnosis is fake or why it's misunderstood. And then I sort of did a gamble with the audience. I said, well, if it's fake, why don't we do this experiment where let's just run a bunch of hypnotic tests and inductions. And there was this TEDx had a good sized house on this audience and see what happens. And then, of course, strange things and hypnotic things happened. And that was sort of the comic element. The serious element was, I think, the reason why it became a little bit of a thing was that I think I'm not the first hypnotist to suggest this, but I was able to sort of explain the theory that there's a relationship between dreaming and hypnotic states. And before that, I think that hadn't really been publicly aired to that extent. And so that created some stir and interest and got some psychologists kind of angry with me. They were like, don't say that. Yeah, it's not an idea that's in vogue lately in the scientific community.
I see.
I see.
And this was the one that was sort of like a show, right?
Yeah, I think both. Actually, I should say both the ones I did are performative, but the other one's called "Surprise You're Hypnotized," and which is more just about the principle of how shock inductions work. But is hypnosis fake kind of got to the deeper question of like what is hypnosis? Anton Mesmer's story, and is there really a connection between dreaming behaviors and hypnotic behaviors?
I see.
And by the way, the part that it lasted, I'd like to pretend that people have debated this question, the scientific questions raised, but the part that really sticks with people is that I turned a guy into a chicken. I've turned a few people into a chicken, and I explained it.
Yeah.
I tried to explain the science of turning people into chickens, and that's the part that people remember.
Well, and that's the talk you gave at Performing Hypnosis Summit last year.
Right. I even went, that's where I really got to it's actually a very profound thing, turning people into chickens, not the joke. It is often portrayed as, it's actually a very powerful aspect of human behavior revealed in this kind of like temporary chickenhood we see in hypnotic shows.
Temporary chickenhood. I love it. And I remember the explanation you gave for that was really well thought out. It's great because you've got a sense of humor with your stuff, but there's also a very intellectual part of it as well.
Yeah, I think I have felt like I should explain. I think I came to hypnosis out of need. I don't know if probably a lot of people do, but I should explain that I wasn't a guy who thought, oh, someday I'll be a hypnotist, or went to a hypnosis show and thought, maybe I could do that. I was a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, and I got traumatized working on a film, actually about 9/11, weirdly enough.
Wow.
And so it was, I should explain, I'll just go into a little bit of detail.
Sure.
The film dealt with this very weird fact that a lot of people dreamt about 9/11 before it happened. And that sounds, that sounds pretty crazy. And I was very skeptical. But there's enough people that had very vivid dreams about 9/11, and they told either their therapist or they told somebody in their lives, or they went on the radio and talked about it, like this crazy dream I had. And then 9/11 happened. So there was enough of it. I was working on a documentary about like, whoa, is this possible? I was skeptical, but my job was to sort of figure out if their predictions were correct. And I made the mistake of watching a lot of the footage. The debate about was sort of like how some of it was about how people died, unfortunately. And I watched a lot of the footage, often working late at night. I would just look at it to see if it was the correct stuff. And I got quite traumatized, and to the point where all of a sudden I couldn't sleep, and I had pictures I couldn't get out of my head, kind of PTSD-ish kind of things. And I saw this ad online one day where it said, do you have obsessive thoughts you can't get rid of? That was sort of what rough idea of what it said. And at that moment, I was like, that's me. That's exactly how I feel. And so I called this number, and it was like, call for free. I didn't know that it was hypnosis. The guy said, there's this very friendly guy. And I actually, this is quite a while ago, I've never found out, maybe he's watching right now, who that was, because he was some, random hypnotherapy guy.
Yeah.
And he ran this protocol on me, and basically in a matter of minutes, this thing that had been really troubling me for a good 6 months just went away.
Wow.
And after that, I thought I got to learn how to do this, because as working as a reporter, I knew a lot of people that were traumatized. And that's how I got into hypnosis. And so part of it, I think what drives me in the kind of hypnosis field is that I think there are so many, it's actually one of the few areas where there are genuinely exciting new frontiers. I think there are so many aspects of hypnosis that nobody knows the answer to, that are really, really intriguing. And then I just sort of set out to go, how do you explain this? Like, how do you explain the dreaming hypnosis connection? All of us who are hypnotists see people's eyes roll up. We see the flickering effect that looks an awful lot like REM state sleeping.
Yeah.
So we go, okay, there's some link. And so that's what I explored. This is a long-winded answer to your question in that original Hypnosis Fake TEDx.
No, it's great. It's really great. It's funny. I got to tell you, when you talk about the house was a really nice big house for your first TEDx talk, or the one that was like show. I remember walking into my TEDx event and going, "Oh, damn, this is nothing like that." It was this tiny little stage, and I was like, "I wasn't prepared for this. I thought it was going to be this big giant thing." But they're all different.
They are all different. Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
yeah. They're big,
so
they're small.
that's a pro tip, guys. Find out what the size of your stage is going to be if you're doing any kind of a demonstration. It's fine for a speaker who just has to sit in the red circle, and that's all they got to do. But that was challenging. So God, you've got so many things. I'm so curious about so many things. I want to go. I know you're excited about the hypnotic bar, but can we touch on the sexology stuff, the stuff you're doing, because that was like you actually went to Europe and attended some conference and stuff. Can you tell us more about that?
So I'm working on a documentary right now. It actually has two names because it's actually an interesting question. I'm curious what your take on it. The documentary, it's a television documentary. It's called either we're going to call it "Make Orgasms Not War," or we're going to call it "Coming Soon."
I think they both
what
work.
You did there.
Coming soon, and then the subtitle is the other one.
The reason that we don't want to realize it's interesting. I had a bit of an education. I don't know if you know people that work in the sphere of sort of sexual therapy or
not nearly enough. No,
not nearly enough. They complain that they are heavily censored. Like they can't say a lot of words, and it's a big issue. So I noticed the same thing, that whenever I would post a video that related to, let's say, orgasms, I would see it. Occasionally, it would zoom up in views, but often it would as if there was some. I don't know.
Shadow ban?
Yes, shadow banning. And I was really shocked because I really thought the word orgasm, I thought, I like to joke, if it weren't for orgasms, like there's sort of this, like, a lot of taboo around it, but if it weren't for orgasms, I'm pretty sure that none of us would be here. And I like when people think of it that for that. Wait a second.
Yeah,
Like, it's true.
At least one of the people, anyway.
Yes, that's right. That's right. At least
Involved.
somebody somewhere had an orgasm so that you exist. So
Yeah.
it shouldn't be so taboo, but that's why I think, okay, coming soon. But let me, actually, you're in the film. I should explain. It's funny. I'm not saying this to flatter you, but you're actually, because you're such a great interview and you explained it so clearly. One of the weird things is I really believe, and I've looked at the history of it. So there's a phenomena, called either the hypnotic orgasm or sometimes called the energy orgasm. This is often something that you'll see in a stage hypnosis show, sometimes the racier shows. And I think that the phenomena of understanding hypnotic orgasms comes out of stage hypnosis, meaning it wasn't like a scientist in a lab figured out, that we can hypnotize people and have orgasms. Yeah. It was crazy entertainment guys going, hey, this will get their attention, and what's interesting about it has profound, in my view, so the film is that it actually has profound scientific impact. Let me explain. This is going to sound a little bit weird, but so if we go back to this idea that dreaming and hypnosis are connected, they're not the same thing, but it may be that the brain borrows some aspects of dreaming to actually create hypnotic trance. That's why eyes roll up, flickering. People sort of can do whatever they can do in dreams, they can often do in deep trance. Well, it turns out that between the ages of 3 and 90, all human beings have dreams either of a kind of orgasmic nature. And it's regardless of gender, and it's almost essentially regardless of age. Now, why is that interesting? Because when you hypnotize people, you can borrow from the dream state. And it may be that in creating hypnotic orgasmic states, you're essentially borrowing from that deep embedded hypnotic dream state. Now, what's interesting about that? In hypnosis, we solve people's problems by creating a kind of waking dream state which the person has access to. Ooh. Right? But most people feel like they don't have access to their own sexual codes. You just arrived at them. This is kind of who you are. But put that person into trance, and in the movie we demonstrate this, that people and this is done in stage hypnosis, where somebody will have, you'll say you'll have an orgasm as a man, but then somebody will have an orgasm as a woman. Everything gets very flexible and transferable. Anyways, this is just
so quick question. So I want to make sure I heard that correctly. So you're saying that men can experience like a woman's orgasm and the converse?
Yes. So I've actually posted something called a mangasm, which is a woman having an orgasm as a man, and she really enjoyed it, because what was funny is it was so exotic to her. She'd never, I guess, thought of having that experience, but because she's in trance, it's very real. And sort of to answer your question is this, I'm only saying this to point out how flexible the state is. If you take people's sexual nature, they will generally say, this is how I have sex. It's kind of one way or two ways. You put that same person in a trance, and you can have a variety of, let's say, what we would call orgasmic states. One of them would be switching genders, but the other would be, for example, a person that only can have one orgasm in trance can have many, or they can do them in slow motion. They can do them in reverse. They can start and stop them. Yeah, this is all. I've just documented this phenomena because I was lucky enough to be able to sort of look at it. Yeah. And I think, my conclusion is that although this is a novelty act, like when you go to a stage hypnosis show, there's something crazy and novel about it. It's actually scientifically very important. Though I'm not a scientist, so but I have brought scientists on to look at it, and their minds are blown. I'll give you like a strange example. So if you're an orgasm research, which is actually just like an emerging field in science, it's very hard to do, because if you want to get people in and have them have orgasms, right, it's very complicated. They're all like, well, I need my vibrator, or I need this, or I need my partner, and it's all going to be different with every single different person. Well, with hypnosis, you could put 10 people in like beds. You put them all in trance the same way, and they have exactly, in a sense, the same orgasmic state. And so it's actually better science than what's happening now.
Yeah.
So what happened? You answered the question. Is in Europe, I didn't go to a conference, but a neuroscientist was invited to a workshop that I was part of, where we demonstrated, okay, this is how hypnotic orgasm work. This stuff is done very carefully. We get people's consent. We tell them exactly what they're getting into. It's people that are confident, know what they're doing. And so a neuroscientist came, and his mind was blown. He created a study to demonstrate whether or not the phenomena is real. Because, and here's what's interesting about this. We did this study. It's called the Prague experiment, because it happened in Prague. It was supported by the Czech National Institute of Mental Health. And what we did is we took a bunch of good hypnotic subjects, and we hypnotized them without them being touched. I mean, they don't need to be touched. The idea is that they wouldn't be touched, so that how could they possibly arrive at orgasms without being touched?
Yeah.
Then they were blood tested before and after, and we found that the hormonal marker for orgasm, and there is one, by the way, the hormonal marker is prolactin, which is a human hormone, only happened in people who experienced hypnotic orgasms. If they were moving around or looked kind of happy, that wasn't enough. They had to have a true orgasm. So the study is going to come out in a couple months, being presented to a conference there in Vienna. But I think it has implications, because, as you know, this is something that people have been doing in stage hypnosis for years, kind of like without really knowing what it means.
Yeah, it's just a funny gag.
It's entertaining and crazy.
Yeah.
But I actually think, and the reason why the film was called Make Orgasms Not War, is that it has implications for helping a lot of people who are not orgasmic or not enjoying their sexuality get there. So, for example, 10% of the population, or particularly of women, are anorgasmic, meaning they've never had orgasm. We know that if those people wanted to and they went into trance, they could probably have orgasms.
Wow.
And so that's interesting. And so I've been working on this documentary partly because I was like, this is an interesting subject. 2, it's got to be dealt with carefully. 3, it needs some kind of balance. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a scientist, but I've done a reasonable amount of scientific reporting, and I thought, okay, I think that we got to go deep into how this works.
Well, I think you make a good point too. When you talk, because maybe it's better you're not a scientist, because I think, and I've had this one, I've wondered about this before too. When we see these studies that show this amount of people can be hypnotized, these people can't be, are they using researchers that are reading a script, or are they using, experienced hypnotists? And I think that we're looking at is it's a researcher reading a script. It's going to be a totally different experience.
I think hypnosis is one of the few domains, and you may have more experience in this, where the avant-garde, so to speak, or the cutting edge is actually, I would say in a weird way, is the conferences and stage hypnosis, meaning
totally,
cutting. Yeah. Why? And you know this, because if you're a stage hypnotist, you must get your volunteers into trance, or you die. You have no shot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it creates a need to really understand how hypnosis works.
Yeah.
Which isn't the same in the academic milieu. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say, yeah, I think you're spot on with that, and I think that it would be great if they would use more. And like I said, I mean, hypnotherapists are doing great stuff too. But I think you're right though. The ones that are really pushing the limits, and I think that's why we're kind of looked up to when it comes to hypnotherapists. Is because we are pushing the limits. We're doing things that, and, frankly, a lot of them are afraid to do, and really, it's not appropriate for them to do, right? Um, so yeah, I believe you're right. And the other thing that I found interesting, and maybe you can enlighten me a little bit about this, but because you're talking about the dream state and hypnotic state are very close, and we can help people, in hypnosis in that state, but also in the dream state, aren't we also working on our problems?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So this takes us back to why people become chickens. So there's a lot of debate about the role of dreaming. So the science is not settled, and they'll say there's areas where it's settled. So one area that I understand that science is settled is called memory reconsolidation. So when you dream, you tend to dream about things that have happened to you during the day, and then you kind of make sense of them. That's why you kind of dream about kind of powerful experiences a little bit. But dreaming turns out to be many things, and it also might be things that haven't happened or never happened. So it has this. So these sort of weirder, stranger dreams. The ones where you find like a bucket of money in the road and you stuff it in your pockets, and then you're like, oh damn, that was just a dream.
Yeah.
But those are the morning dreams apparently, and let me explain why. Because the morning dreams are more like test situations. What do you do if? So what do you do if you find a chest full of money lying in the street? And the chicken idea is very simple. The reason why you can turn people into chickens, and it's weirdly proof that there is a connection between hypnosis and dreaming, is that if you dream that you are being hunted by a tiger, the reason you're dreaming that is so you learn to run away. Like, don't let the tiger catch you. Now, if you were in that dream and you went, oh, I know I'm just dreaming. Go away, tiger. This is just a dream. You would not learn how to avoid tigers.
Yeah.
And so there's this this is not recognized because the science is only so far, but there's an educational component to dreaming, or a kind of fantasy football. I often say like a simulation component. Similarly, one role of hypnotherapy is that we can simulate. So somebody classically has a problem with public speaking. They go into trance and they make the speech and they do it successfully and the crowd cheers and it goes well. Or they overcome the obstacle that was stopping them from becoming a good public speaker. That behavior exists because we have dreams, in my opinion. That part isn't really settled science, so that's why you can't say it like absolutely. But I think hypnotists can say it. I think scientists have to be more careful.
It kind of makes me think that like the dreams are like kind of our instincts that are kicking in. Whereas like a lot of animals, like you watch a lot, like baby animals, like they can do anything. I mean, they do all the stuff. They run around, they jump, they can find food, all these kind of things, and we can't do a damn thing. And so it's like maybe the dreams are, our instincts kicking in.
That's right. That's why, I mean, I gave the example in my TEDx. I showed, though I think that not everyone agreed with this, is that you can take cats. I think there's actually a cat right behind me. Oh no, she's gone actually. I scared him away. But the cats, if you put a cucumber near to a cat and most cats will jump. That's because cats are afraid of snakes, as they maybe should be.
Right.
But how do they know that? Because a common domestic cat has never encountered a cat-eating snake, most likely, because they live in your living room. So it has a dreamed-in instinct to be afraid of cucumbers, which are essentially look like snakes if you look at them quickly. So you're right. That's right, and that's why. And this is the other thing. Why do children have nightmares? Anybody who has kids has had this experience of your children running to you in a state of distress because they've had a terrible nightmare, and you can't help wondering why is this kid's dream so terrible? Well, this also points to this phenomena, because predators come for our kids, leopards, tigers, wolves, whatever. They take the kids first.
Right.
So the kids are dreaming about something real, that there's a chance, if they're not careful, that the predators will come and take them away. So they dream about it, and they still dream about it, even though it's not likely to happen in our modern world. And so that phenomena explains why you become a chicken. Because if you're having a dream, and which is a hypnotic trance, and I tell you your dream is about, you have feathers on your fingers and you're flapping your wings and you say baka, you are a chicken. If people did not believe their dreams, the guy would go, yeah, no, I know you told me I'm a chicken, but I'm not really a chicken. But because he can believe the dream, he becomes the chicken. And the reason he believes the dream is so that evolutionarily, he is afraid of the threats that human beings face for our survival.
Wow. Okay, let's give a couple of shout outs here. Becca Rose is in the house. Thanks for joining us, Becca. Got some hearts there. Muskogee tea. Don't know what that is, but it sounds wonderful.
That's from our non-resident, non-professional doctors.
Yes.
The flu remedies.
It's pretty
Fascinating. Yeah. Becca Rose. And stick around, everybody. In about 20 minutes or so, we'll do some live hypnosis with Albert here. Albert, I'm just curious now that you got me thinking about this, how similar are orgasms to laughter, or are they?
I would say this is what I would, there is a bunch of interesting things that happen when you put people into deep trance that become easier. Mm-hmm. One of them is laughter. People will, I had this experience at Hypnotize this year where you've noticed this. Everybody who does stage hypnosis has noticed that not only does your audience laugh because it's really funny, that you can actually you can hypnotize people, and you just say, it's easy for you to laugh, and they just start laughing. And not only do they laugh in a way that was a bit uncharacteristic, like really wild and with a lot of abandon. And so that's really interesting. And the same thing is true, I think, of orgasmic behavior, is that, again, this should only be done with consent, that you warn people that you're going to do it, but you can put people in a deep trance with their consent. And then it is strange. I'm going to say easy, because not easy for everybody, but it's easier. And it is weird that they're both there. I would say laughter's there, orgasm is there, and they're things that are part of dreams, because we all had orgasmic states. I guess you're going to say, speak for yourself, but we all had orgasmic states in our dreams. But I think
wet dreams, right? I mean, when you're a teenager,
see, one of the unfortunate stereotypes is that people think that wet dreams is an adolescent male phenomena, but it turns out it is a universal phenomena, and it's also not adolescent. It happens. I just think that it's more dramatic when you're a teenager, but I think at all ages, people have these sort of low-level orgasmic states without even knowing it. And it may be that these are self-programming states to a certain extent. I would say there's a parallel between orgasms and target states. So target state is in hypnosis where you try to say we're heading in a particular direction. Yeah, a simple principle. If you have orgasms about something or somebody, you will start heading in that direction.
So interesting. Becca says she has the wildest dreams. I like this, William. William says dreams are the memories unfolding as the DNA helix unwinds as we sleep and relax. I like that. I kind of like the idea too. I remember reading something. I used to be really into the the Chariots of the Gods, and I read a book that was similar to that. But this guy's theory was that, like, when we have past life recollections and stuff, that he really thought this was just memories stored in our DNA from ancestors from way back. And if you think about ancestors, all the forks I mean, we could touch every single, all the way back to Genghis Khan at least, right? Since we're all related to him, pretty much. And I thought that was a really a unique theory. I like that a lot. Scott says, depends on how hard the joke is, Jim. Always got the best comments. What dreams may come. So, switching gears a little bit.
Yes, of course.
Let's get on to hypnotic bar. I mean, this is really cool, and this is another thing that stage hypnotists have been doing for quite a long time. And so, or hypnotic, getting high, that kind of a stuff, even if it's used just as a deepener. So what's going on with that?
So I'd seen it a couple of times, I think, at stage hypnosis shows, or if somebody's hypnotized to be drunk, or Mark Savard famously does hypno joints, where he gets people thinking that they're smoking. Again, this is this dream factor, which is, how do you think that you're smoking a joint? Because you're in a dream where you're smoking a joint, basically. This
is a dream, or like a dream-like state, being in trance.
I think you're right. To be accurate, it is a dream-like state, and that's actually why it is still rejected, I think, largely in science, is that it's not exactly the same. When you do brain scans of people in REM sleep, it is different from brain scans of people in REM state trance. But it's not a fundamental difference. It's just different. Sorry, but to answer your question, I came across these weird posters. You can find them. You've probably seen them, but they're 19th century posters that apparently went around, where anybody who was a stage hypnotist, I think at that time, now making a poster is really easy. At that time, like getting a poster made was a big deal.
Right.
But you could pay this one guy who had like a series of 4 hypnosis posters, and you could put your name on top of it and use it to advertise your show. Those posters included images of people hypnotized to be drunk. There was literally a guy who has like a fake red nose, and he's got like a bottle, and then he's being arrested by a policeman with a baloney instead of a baton, who's also hypnotized. And it's like a classic stage hypnosis skit.
See, Jim, we have nothing to worry about being canceled on our shows.
I was going to say, now here's where you insert the callback. Are you sure it wasn't a schnitzel? So where was I going this? So these old posters feature hypnotic drunkenness. Now, to explain where I get to the hypnotic bar is I had done workshops at a few rehabs, and at one of them, I got into a bit of a heated discussion where I think the debate was, does the thing that makes you high when you drink or get high, however you get high, is it the substance making you high, or is it your brain making you high? And
or is it the substance that triggers the response to
yes, and that's a good way of phrasing it. I would say that almost everything exciting, though, happens behind the blood-brain barrier, meaning, yes, the substance might create chemistry, but the chemistry is happening kind of inside the brain. So ultimately, the question becomes, can your brain create any high without drugs? And so I stayed up late one night with a bunch of recovering drug addicts, and we tried to recreate like weird, outlandish drug states: crystal meth, LSD, MDMA, mushrooms, and I realized there wasn't anything you couldn't recreate using standard hypnotic protocols. One of them is revivification, where you revive a state that somebody's already been in, or sometimes you can just use behavioral cues. Like a peak state is similar to what people experience with cocaine. So, and so then I thought, oh, this would be a funny show. And I've been doing this show once in a while ever since, where the idea is you go to a bar, you get permission, you have to get booked at a bar. You can do it anywhere, but the idea is you take over a bar, and I encourage other people to try this, and you hypnotize a bunch of people, and you give them shots, where the shots are water. But you tell them they're drinking tequila or they're drinking rum, and they get progressively drunker. Plus, you then invent drugs. And it becomes sort of a rollicking, drunken stage hypnosis show. And it's always weird. Like at the last one I did in Toronto, to give you an idea, I of course turned some people into chickens, but I asked the audience, why don't we put these chickens on drugs? And of course they were like,
Yeah, yay!
We put them on magic mushrooms, and I gave them a few beers. And you know what was funny? They did something amazing. First, they clucked, and they were very compelling chickens, and they really acted like chickens. But then, one by one, every chicken began staring at the mirror ball. That's what they did. I was like, no fucking human would ever have thought of that.
Right.
They just sat and stared at the mirror ball.
Yeah.
They were chickens.
Wow. That's funny.
And I'm not sure why people are so concerned about the fact that, a hypnotist would turn them into a chicken. Because, if you look on TikTok, there was a whole series of games that you could play as a chicken, and you're supposed to go buck, 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 and you're moving this chicken along this, 2D game plane. And I made a video about it. I said, like, really? And you're worried about me turning you into a chicken?
Yeah. Right.
As we know, there's that's a whole other kettle of fish of why people are afraid of hypnosis. But yeah,
Albert,
Yeah.
are you ever concerned that that you might run across an alcoholic or a drug addict that gets re-triggered into abuse?
Yeah, yes, and absolutely. I think that is a concern. You shouldn't. After I did this, I don't think it's a show you would do at rehabs for that exact reason. It was more like a kind of interesting. What it was in the case when I did this rehab was like, I was actually trying to say, I think the thing that you're looking for, and I think this is true, when you do drugs, was already there. It's already a good example. You see this where a lot of recovering addicts become joggers because they love dopamine and they get it through jogging. And so, yes, I do not recommend. I would never take somebody who's a recovering alcoholic and say, "Here, I can give you some hypnotic alcohol." That would definitely make them probably feel like I would like to get some real alcohol. Though, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, wouldn't it be great if we could teach this to teens and stuff, to get that on their own, and they wouldn't need it,
Yeah. Yes. And
it's kind of interesting, Jim. It's almost like you need to be able to make certain mistakes in your life in order to learn from them. And it's kind of like that cycle. In no way am I condoning that, someone needs to die in a DUI crash or, become assaulted or abused or anything like that. But, there are times it's like you have that, I had too much to drink. I did some things I may not be 100% proud of. And then you go, all right, that lesson needed to be learned, but nobody got hurt.
I think risk versus reward, though, on this one, man. I got to tell you, because personally, I did some really stupid stuff that could have easily killed me when I was younger. And I don't know. I think that you're right in some ways, and in other ways, man, I think if I could have been taught how to not get in that situation, a lot of people would have been a lot happier.
I should mention there's a stark difference too between. I learned this, around being around addicts that, it used to be that there was an occasional risk of overdose. Now, I went to a rehab over a space of 2 years, and during that time, I think 8 people died, and fentanyl. And so I actually think you're right, Jim. That I think the answer. I think that even just being able to suggest to people these altered states, and actually, I don't think you need hypnosis to show it. Like, for example, breath work can also create altered states. I think just showing people that the kind of exciting, mountaineering can create altered states. I think suggesting to people that alternate highs are available and worth pursuing. And like once you learn, like the other thing about the hypnotic bar is that I point out when people experience it, if you've been in trance for an hour, you come out feeling fantastically refreshed. There's no hangover. You feel great. And that's an interesting thing that, compared to the last time I drank 4 or 5 beers, it's a little bit better, you know.
Four or 5 beers. I mean, sadly, there are some people that call that breakfast.
I know.
And then there are some people that are like, that runs me over like a car.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
So
totally. But, yeah, but I think that we live in a bit of a matrix world where William's writing. Yeah, I think
There is a theory about
that giving people access to their own internal states is actually almost like a bit of a birthright. You know, that when people can get, and we know it's true. Stage, like, tell me, Jim, you've done it where you've hypnotized people to be drunk. Are they drunk?
I mean, they seem very happy, but they're not drunk.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from a chemical standpoint, you know, no, there's no alcohol or drug in their system. Are they acting that way? Absolutely. Could that be argued as a means of impairment?
Well, you just
I'm kind of curious about
your finger and they're done. That's what's great. You snap your finger and then they get in their car and drive home. No problem.
Yeah.
Well, I get what I was saying is that, say they were still in that hypnotic trance with that suggestion, you know, I don't think that I'd be curious, would they be able to operate a vehicle? And would that, or could that be argued that there was an aspect of impairment? And it's just more of like from a legal standpoint. I'd be curious about the theory.
Well, you know, we might find interesting the way I started sort of setting up the show, and is that I sort of asked the question, why do people drink? And it's interesting, and these are the positives. They're interesting. So one is that people classically drink to forget their problems. Well, one of the things that hypnosis is great at? We can get people to forget their names. They can forget how to speak English. You can make people forget their problems too. The second reason is people like to drink to laugh with their friends. Well, that's what you do at a stage hypnosis show, or at when you do even hypnosis in small groups. There's
definitely a social component to it.
I also think the third reason would be disinhibition. So people, like a lot of people would be like, you'll never see me on a dance floor until I've had like 3 beers. Right. But you hypnotize.
And then there are some people that go, I'm using that as a justification to go slam these 4 shots of tequila back to back to back. And then they go, oh, I just need it to warm up. No, sweetheart, you need that because you're an alcoholic.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the big distinction, that I think everything that alcohol can do, you can do with hypnotic trance. And you can do this also with behavior, like meaning if you want to laugh with your friends, you could do laughter exercises. I know that sounds a bit nerdy, but I'm saying you don't need trance states to get them. But you can recreate everything good about drinking. Like we've been sold this bill of goods, which is you can only have these peak state wonderful experiences if you're drunk, or if you've had a few. Yeah, and that hypnosis offers this opportunity to say no to that, and not I don't mind people drinking. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind if I drink once in a while, but I do know that now the evidence is drinking is a deleterious experience at any level, which is like the new science, meaning even 1 beer is not good for you. I don't think it's not going to kill you, but so that's why it's kind of interesting to say, hey, these states are available naturally.
I love that. I got to say too, and I don't know how much work you've done with the addicts and stuff, but when I've worked with, and not when they're in current addiction or current alcoholism, but when they've gotten past the hump, when they're clean, they're some of the best clients and some of the best stage hypnosis volunteers I've ever had in my life. They really are. I mean, and they've got so much dialed in. I mean, they know about the meditation, affirmations, positive thinking. I mean, they are just a joy to work with, really.
I agree. I also think there's a correlation between high hypnotizability and, this sounds weird, but proneness to addiction. And I'm
Mm.
not sure, but it may be that, like, I remember doing a workshop once and some guy saying to me, I was hypnotized by cocaine.
Ah.
And I was like, I think I understand what you're saying. So I don't know if the cocaine made them a good hypnotic subject or that they already were, but I know, like, I guarantee this: if you went to any, kind of drug treatment or alcohol treatment center in America and hypnotically tested them, you would find a higher proportion of good hypnotic subjects than out in the regular world.
I think so. I mean, I remember just doing a couple of like these like parties where they get together, like the whole organization gets together, the addicts organization, Narcotics Anonymous, for instance, and really, and it's so funny because you're walking in and they're all tatted up and they got the long hair and they look scary, the nicest people, and they cut loose too. The audiences are great too. I mean, they're really fantastic. So they're just a joy to work with. If you get a chance, guys, go work with them. So we've got a couple of comments here. Becca wants to be drunk on water. Hey, contact Albert. He's going to help you out.
Okay.
Water's so boring. Oh no. That was one of the things that used to drive me crazy when I'd work with hypnotherapy clients. I was doing mostly weight loss in this clinic, and they were all like, "Oh, I hate water. I just hate water. I can't drink water." Like, oh no, come on.
Maybe you want to drink some right now.
There you go. Good. If it's good cold water, it is so refreshing. Yes, the ability to state change. This is something that I have found for myself. One of the ways that I state change is I sing. My wife will crack up because all of a sudden I'll start singing in the car and she'll know, oh, okay, Jim's getting frustrated in traffic.
I like that too. I know exactly what you mean. The other day I woke up and I just knew I was in a bad mood, and I thought, am I going to let this ruin my day?
Yeah.
And I used self-hypnosis to state change. And I realized, it was kind of an interesting moment where I realized, hey, I'm taking my own medicine.
Totally.
This is what I do with people,
And this is what's so important, if you're watching out there, whether live or later, you are in control of that state that you're in. And you can choose, like Albert said, you can choose, do you want to have a crappy day or do you want to get over it? And if you really want to get over it, find what works for you, whether it's hypnosis, meditation, singing. I remember one time, what's his name? He passed. Oh, Wayne Dyer said that we don't sing because we're happy. We're happy because we sing.
Or I think the other way around.
Oh, okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah. Say it the right way, Albert. I'm drunk.
We don't sing because we're happy. We're happy because we sing. Or is that what you said? Yeah, I got you wrong, actually.
I don't know. I was having to think at the same time, so I don't know, maybe. But yeah, the point is sing, and it will make you happy for the most part. I mean, unless you're maybe singing death metal. But I mean, if you're into death metal, that may work too. So.
Also, don't discount if something bad happened and you need to grieve. Like, grieve, have those emotions, let it out, so that you don't just pack it all away inside to where it becomes super unhealthy and rears its ugly head later on.
Good point.
But by the way, when you said, Jim, when you said, do you want to have a crappy day? I couldn't help thinking that's like a great Jim Kellner book.
Oh yeah, do you want to have a crappy day? And they just write the opposite. Don't sing. Scowl the whole day. Be angry. Becca, cold water tastes round and warm water tastes square. Also, the flavor of water is mostly its temperature. The flavor is true, Scott. I love cold water. Warm water, not a big fan. Scott.
Oh, there's a Jim. You probably don't ski or snowboard, but if you get out to Stevens Pass in Washington, it's in between two chairlifts, like where you walk in between. There's this like rusty bowl with a pipe underneath it, and it's an artesianal well. like right off a glacier, the purest, best tasting ice cold water that you could ever have. And if I could replicate that, I don't know that I would drink really much of anything else.
Nice.
I
Scott
like
King.
Scott's comment.
Yeah, the great thing about hypno drugs is that you can customize them to have any effect you desire. There's also a place in Linwood, somewhere like in Linwood, Brian, where you can get it out of a pipe. Remember that?
Just west of I-5 on 164th Street, there's the artesian well.
That's pretty good stuff too.
There are people there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, I've driven
filling
by
up water bottles and stuff like that.
Yeah. William says the ability to manage state and choose state is an empowerment. SEALs are constantly refining the training. Absolutely. William also says choose state, not choose state. Choose state. Oh yeah, we know. Okay. The ability to feel comfortable with one's skin. Okay, good.
The glacier bong makes a lot of the comments make a lot more sense.
Glacier bong.
Yeah, true. Warm water's gross. Cold water, especially if you've had gum or brushed your teeth. That's weird. Getting some weird comments. Awareness, discernment, choice. Yeah, a lot of good stuff there, William. Glacier bong. There we go. Hey, you know what, everybody? So, go ahead.
I was going to add one thing to this kind of cold water, warm water. What I find funny is I do, as you mentioned, cold water swimming in Lake Ontario, and what's funny is that in a lot of people will not. Lake Ontario is a cold lake, and they'll not go in probably until July. And the irony is July, because it gets so warm, that's when the E. coli spikes, and you actually see the water get cloudy and dirty. So what a lot of and here's the other interesting thing is that by November, or let's say October, it drops below, I guess, probably about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. E. coli dies. So that's when the water gets perfectly clear, looks fantastic. The point of this is the average person will be like, I have standards. I will not swim in the lake until it is entirely polluted and toxic. And you won't catch me in cold, fresh water, you know.
Well, hold on. We can hear you. We just had a technical difficulty because.
Okay. Yeah, I see this.
Help us, Shawn. Captain, we need you to right the ship. From Canada,
oh, no.
Mr. Kostiuk.
He'll fix it. Don't worry.
Oh, now with all the ones and zeros, like this is officially a glitch in the Matrix.
Okay, we just have to move people around now.
See, everybody,
so say that again, Albert.
We are semi-professionals.
It's just an interesting thing is that culturally people are very nervous about swimming in cold water, and they're horrified. I remember going to Mexico once and somebody refusing to go in the water because it was 78 degrees. They're like, ooh, it was chilly. And so I swim in water at precisely 0, I would say 0.5, just above freezing. And it's amazing that you would think I could never get used to this, but you can. It's actually, you habituate. And but the thing I was going to say is that people who swim in that lake, and most lakes, will be like, I need it to be like 75 or 80. But that's when the water's full of bacteria. It is totally toxic. You are swimming in a soup of poopy bacteria. And yet you're like, oh, clean water? I'll never go in that. I mean, because it's cold, but I understand. But it's actually really clean come October. That's when the water gets clean.
Yeah. Okay, Albert.
Yes, whatever.
But they'll go jump in a science experiment at the public pool with so much chlorine that it burns your eyes and your skin and changes the color of your hair.
Oh man, I went to the water park once as an adult, and I was just horrified that I actually went as a child. I was like, I can't believe I ever did this. There were so many people in that water, and that you just know. Oh,
You're just in there going like, I trust the science. I trust the science.
It's just the chlorine.
Come on, chemistry, save me.
Yes.
You just need to go further north. One of the best lakes that I ever swam in was actually my grandparents, same grandparents that I showed on Remember State. They owned a house right on the lake at Sioux Lookout. And that lake was so crystal clear all the time. Like you could see the fish coming up to bite you.
Wow.
And like that's another reason I wish I was a helicopter pilot with my own helicopter. Like I just want to go fly off to some alpine lake somewhere that like hasn't been touched by 2 people a year see it, and just it's a 30-minute flight and you land and you park it right there. And
tell you what, Brian, we'll do a hike. We'll hike into Lake Athabasca through the desert.
Oh.
What's this walking stuff that you speak of, Shawn? I got to bring my Lamborghinis up through customs and everything to the Great White North.
I bring some boots, yeah.
Racist.
Some good boots.
Hey, couple of things.
With a helicopter, the moose tend to stay
Albert,
away and not kill you.
Yeah.
Albert, they got a couple of cool programs.
What's that?
Go ahead, Shawn.
Again, Jeff? No, I was just gonna say ahead. my last trip through the school division, had 4 moose crossing the highway. They're big, but they're mostly friendly. Mostly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at the.
All right, so
go
Albert,
ahead. Yeah,
Albert, you've got a couple of ways for people to work with you. Of course, you do hypnotherapy and stage shows. I see you've also got a couple of courses. Now, this was an interesting one. It's called Enchantment. Tell us about that.
So I do a course where the idea is ethical, and it's funny. I feel I don't want to sound preachy, because when people talk about these sort of bliss states, altered states, even hypnotic orgasms, that there is really an important factor that it be done ethically. But it's the way I kind of try to explain it to people. So enchantment is a new science-based, evidence-based approach to creating ethical bliss states. And what's interesting, I'd say, about it is all of these states, and we know this from hypnosis and hypnotherapy, when people feel safe, they go deeper. And when they go deeper, they have more amazing experiences, and even sometimes wilder experiences for them. So enchantment is this sort of mixture of how you make people safe, how you do consent properly, but also exploring the kind of wild aspects of all the kinds of altered states hypnosis, with an emphasis on the kind of healthy wellness sexual side. Starts right. First.
So
and we still emphasize the safety and the consent as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we don't like being sued.
Yeah, but you know what I realize that a lot of people sometimes they sort of think, oh, is this like a big headache having to ask for consent or whatever? It is very clear, actually, if you want to do this well, it's that actually that makes the whole process better. Getting permission, people understanding what they're experiencing, people feeling safe, actually deepens the experience for people.
Sure.
So in no way does it conflict with the quality of the experience, I guess is my point. And even the wildness of the experience.
And why in the world wouldn't you want consent? I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And was there something else you wanted to touch on, or was that the January program you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like everything I do is semi outlandish. So I'm doing like a standard New Year's workshop called Dream Big, Start Small.
Awesome.
Which is the idea that the best way to come out of the new year blazing is to create small habits that you will stick to.
God, dude, you preach, brother, preach.
Not the big ones.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably
That's
know
so
this. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, that's how I changed my life. It was small things. It was ridiculously small things, ridiculously small, and I achieved them. So yeah, so people, I know you all have these grand goals, but please start small. Albert will help you. He'll
Small
help you.
changes in your life, Jim. Small changes in your life.
So Albert, if you jump on this program, Albert's going to teach you the value of that. And I know it's not the sexy thing. It's not the thing that you want to hear. And this is what I always tell people, people want to make this huge change and they want to change their life in 6 months. And that happens. And those people end up on Dr. Phil and Oprah and all the TV shows and stuff. But it happens so rarely that it's a big deal because it just doesn't work that way. Most of us who've made actual lasting change have started small. So tell us more about your program. How are you going to get people to start small?
So it's very interesting to look at the psychology of why like this, because I've had exactly the same experience. Part of it was my own experience with, sounds weird, with push-ups. I had a friend who did it a year ago, said, hey, let's do a push-up challenge. And at the time was not in very good shape. And I think we would do 20 push-ups a day. Can you do 20 push-ups a day? Yeah. And of course, it was a little bit challenging, but that was starting small. Now I'm at 120, which isn't a great achievement, but it's compound interest. It's basically, you just get a little bit better every month and gradually it gets easier. But I think the psychology of it is really interesting. It's that when people are facing like an issue or dilemma in their problem or in their lives, they naturally feel like, oh, I need a big, if I'm a bit overweight, I need a big solution. I got to be drastic. I'm so upset about being overweight or being addicted or whatever it is. I got to do this drastic thing that will fix my problem. Where
and usually something like that, like with weight loss, they go, oh, here, I'm going to do the lap band or whatever it is. And they drop 100 pounds in 6 weeks. And all of a sudden they're going, hey, congratulations, you dropped 100 pounds. That's amazing. You should be so proud. And they're like, I look like garbage, all this saggy skin everywhere. And it's like, you need to allow yourself to, readjust and get used to everything. And the push-up challenge, you're just making me have flashbacks and relive basic training.
Is that right? Yeah.
First PT test, they're like, okay, 2 minutes of push-ups. All right, I can do about 30. And then when they're just smoking the dog shit out of you every day, push-ups left and right and here and there and everything for every single little thing. And then it's like at the end, okay, yeah, I can do 80, 90, 100 in 2 minutes. Like,
what was like a weird part of it for me was that at first, like the only reason I was doing push-ups was because I was challenged. And I knew that, it's probably good for you. But then what's interesting, as you go through it, you progressively find things out. Like, first of all, you feel better. Then the second thing I found out was that, like, this study comes out saying that doing push-ups actually has this astronomical effect on reducing cardiovascular risk. Like, I'm saying astronomical because it's like a little thing that you do that actually reduces your risk of heart attack quite dramatically. And but I didn't know that until I sort of got into it. And then I saw these other things. Like, it's weird how when you create a little change, like just like you singing, which is a great idea. Like, I love that idea. I do something called wolfing. So wolfing is wake up laughing because, and it's for a very interesting reason. So wolfing is when you wake up in the morning. A lot of people don't know this, but the thing that wakes you up when you've been sleeping mostly, unless somebody hits you on the head, is cortisol, the stress hormone. You are awoken by the stress hormone. This is why a lot of people are not so pleasant first thing in the morning, in my opinion. Right. They're full of stress hormones. And then if you stress them out even more, they're also highly suggestible because they've been dreaming. So this is a thing I am really concerned with. It's called the waking trance state, where you come out of, when you wake up, and especially if you wake up with an alarm clock and you've been dreaming, you're in a residual REM state. So you're actually highly suggestible. And then somebody says, get out of bed, lard ass. That's really bad because you're highly suggestible at that moment. You're going to be hurt. Take it really personally.
Right.
And that's why you got to protect your morning. So
we got woken up with like metal garbage cans being thrown across a room with guys screaming in there. And I never did push-ups because I wanted to. It was because somebody was somebody screwed up, or somebody was screaming and telling us to do it, and they decided when we got to eat next.
And let me ask you, how do you feel about either waking up and or push-ups? Now, what do you associate it with?
Yeah, push-ups are more associated with a shoulder injury, but waking up, it really all depends on the context of why I'm waking up. If it's something like I'm getting on an airplane and I'm going to be traveling, chances are I'm going to want to stay up as late as I can. I may not sleep that night so that I can go sleep on a plane. If I'm excited to go skiing, I'll be like, all right, I can. All right, is it almost time to wake up? And like, look at the clock. You're like, no, 5 more hours. All right, cool. Sleep fast. But then there's other stuff where it's been like, I've got to go to work, or, family court or something like that. I think a lot of it is context.
What I was going to say is that the way that you wake up really influences the rest of your day. And that's why you want to wake up as best you can, which is not easy because it's the first moments of consciousness. So
absolutely.
So I started this woman, Tiffany Caudill, who actually is going to be, I think, at Performing Hypnosis, actually started this thing called wolfing, where the idea is you wake up. First thing is the moment you come to consciousness, you try to start laughing, which is a little bit challenging, but she shows you how to do it. And the reason is because laughter metabolizes cortisol. So when you wake up in these high cortisol states and also high states of suggestibility, if you laugh, you metabolize the cortisol. And now there's research that shows, this is a really interesting study on smiling. Study shows that if you smile, you bias your brain to find more things to smile about. So, and I think the same thing goes for laughter. And I've noticed the same thing, that if you laugh, you bias your brain to find more things to laugh about. And I noticed this crazy thing. When I wake up in the morning, of course, I'm a bit of a moron. I don't know what's going on. I'm disoriented. Sometimes I drop things. So if I dropped like a coffee cup, which has happened to me a bunch of times, and it smashes on the floor, I like swear, and I feel terrible. I'm like, what an idiotic moment. this is ghastly beginning to my day. But when I started wolfing, I would laugh. I would be, that's hilarious. It's just funny. And I was biasing my brain to find more things to laugh about.
Nice.
So how do you find that the quality of sleep impacts the way that you wake up?
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. I don't know I think all of us have sleep challenges, being able to sleep well. But yeah, if you sleep better, you wake up feeling pleasant, and you're likely, like Jim, you'll start whistling, or you'll sing a song.
No, you're just all charged up, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go crush the day. And then there are days you're like, God, I tossed and turned, and I was up a dozen times at night. And you're like, I'm surprised I function.
It's a big problem because I think people on average are becoming worse sleepers. We're getting probably devices are a big factor. I noticed this when I work on films, that you get a timeline effect where, because you watch timelines, you then dream about timelines at night, which is really, and that keeps you from restful sleep. And it's a big issue. I think people not sleeping well.
Guys, all right. This has been a great episode. Albert, thank you so much for being on. You just shared so much amazing stuff. Please go follow him on Facebook, YouTube. I mean, everywhere. I'm not kidding. This guy is doing amazing work.
Thank you.
It is now time for friend or frenemy, Brian, Shawn. Who's going to do the honors tonight?
But are we going to? We always do this. We should start the show with it and be like, hey, is he a friend or frenemy? Let everybody make their guesses.
Yeah, let everybody make
things like that. But
so go ahead and make your guesses, everybody.
Did we have, in the meantime? Do we have a Shawn? Do you have a tech tip, or we didn't have a product spotlight tonight? Do we?
We're not doing product spotlight. So Tell you what, let's so everybody say
Tonight's product spotlight is NyQuil and various decongestants.
Stop for one. Hold on 1 second. Everybody, please guess, is Albert a friend or a frenemy? Now, product spotlight. This episode is not brought to you by.
Not brought to you by Buckley's.
They're not sending us any money, damn them.
Every good tech guy has one of these. Whether it's got Jim, I think you got the PHS one that you use, but it's really your tech grab bag. So if I reach
is that where you keep your duct tape and
everything?
And I thought you were going to make a comment about his sack, Jim, just because.
No, but you always have a smaller sack inside the sack because there's always something little inside.
This is a clinical term, guys.
Clinical term.
Not only is Shawn the captain, he's also a doctor.
See, you gotta have all the connectors.
But only in Canada, so it's not valid in the States. He'd have to drive a taxi.
No, the point is, you need to. It may seem like just a collection of things and wires and whatnot, but you never know. And I can tell you at PHS, there was probably about 3 times for sure that I can remember where an extra connector or something else came up that it was required. Hey, we need this cable. Does anybody have an extra cable? If you have a grab bag of just tech stuff,
some of the stuff was just like, all right, we need how many adapters to make all this work?
Yeah.
Sounds like I got them.
Yeah. I got them. Need a cord? I got it.
Nice. All right, we're going to move on. I'm going to have to run real quick. I'm going to have to let you guys do the hypnosis part because I'm dying. Friend or frenemy? Rebecca, she says that she thinks he's a friend. Scott says he is all about passion and experience. And so he's surely a frenemy. And and William has a lot to say there. Good stuff, William. So which of you guys would like to ask the question?
Yeah.
I had dinner last time, so go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say I don't need to put on my helmet, but all right. So super easy. True or false, yes or no, pineapple does or does not belong on pizza?
No, it does not.
Oh,
okay. All right. You're okay.
Oh.
You can play the
I was so worried about you. I was
going to make some rationalization. Oh, of course.
Oh, no.
In trance, putting pineapple on pizza would be fine. Even in trance, people probably wake up, from trance. Yeah, they wake up.
Because it's just so disgusting.
You're crossing my moral code.
Yeah, you're like
correct.
Is that bringing back memories when Bob was on, Jim?
I was going to say, unless talking to Bob,
that reminds me, it was a Canadian that invented pineapple pizza. So I'm just hoping that we can do a posthumous pardon for him if you guys want to join, because otherwise we can't let you join the United States. Sorry.
Okay.
So.
They bring about maple syrup and there's some other qualities. They invented hockey point. And
it's they're very friendly. I remember, dude, I went up to some place over on like Victoria Island or something. Vancouver Island, where Victoria is, yeah. And there were people actually saying hi to me. I was like, "What? What are you doing?" Like they actually said, "Hello, good morning." It was weird. I was like, "F you." What?
That's how we can tell you're American.
I'm not meant to be social. I'm from Seattle. It's.
I'm used to being on hiking trails and like people won't even look in your direction. Like what the hell?
Oh, they got their earbuds in and their North Face and the Patagonia something and.
Yeah. So guys, I am just wiped out. I'm gonna take off. Albert, I'm gonna let you do the hypnosis with these guys. 10, 20 minutes, whatever you want to do. Albert, thanks again, man. Can't wait to see you again. Are you? I can't remember.
Likewise.
Are you in person or online?
I will be at online at the Performing Hypnosis Summit.
Okay.
Yep. So
I'll see you
I'll be
online
working
anyway.
that venue.
All right,
Awesome.
guys. Take care. Keep up the good work, Albert. You're really doing such
You too.
awesome
You
work.
too. Thank you. This has been really great. Thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
take care,
go
everybody.
go feel better, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Take
All
care.
And then there were 3.
And then there were 3. Yep.
So yeah, Albert, do you want to just go jump right feet first into this?
Yeah, tell me what you usually do. Like, should I? One thing I've been doing lately is trying to develop like slightly different ways to do hypnotic inductions. So I do this thing called the flicker induction, which might be interesting for people just to experience. It's very simple. It's not a deep induction.
We can either you can either have people kind of be more of like the fun, playful, comedy type stuff where it's like they're feeling silly and laughing, or if you wanted to venture over on like the therapeutic side, kind of in broad form, it's like, hey, here's a relaxation, or just something to not de-stress over the holidays, relieve people of something like that. It fielder's choice, man. This is we're showcasing you tonight, and I want to let you.
Yep. Brian and I will step out of the way. We'll be off the screen, so you have the entire screen to yourself. So if they didn't get a good look at your eye before, they will after.
Yeah, I apologize that I've hurt my eye, so I apologize for the. I don't have the blood eye induction, but we could try it. But no, I apologize for my red eye.
No, those. So, but Albert, before you get going, for everybody who's listening, either currently or in the future at a later date, because you're listening to the recording, you are there. We are here. We cannot interact with you. So make sure that you are, in a comfortable position, preferably laying down, sitting down, stable position, because if you fall over and hit something, we won't know. So safety is the important. Don't operate heavy machinery. If you're driving, listen to us later.
And I actually had somebody who was actually cooking once before I started the induction, and I said, if you're chopping vegetables, and she said, "Damn it, that's exactly what I'm doing right now."
Yeah, because you're hearing the
no knives.
Yeah. So focus on all this stuff. Like I said, if you're otherwise engaged right now in other things, this is going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Facebook. And yeah, if at any point in time you need to come out of trance to address an emergency or anything like that, you absolutely will be able to. So please don't let that be a limiting factor tonight. And with that, Albert, the floor is yours, man.
Thank you. Okay, well, there's a bunch of, it's funny that I had an idea even coming to this show tonight where I'm going to try people and see if it works, but I'm interested in kind of very simple. One thing that's sort of thrown a wrench or is a challenge for hypnotists is working online. And so this is an induction that I thought was kind of interesting. It's a hypnotic induction. So for people who know hypnosis, you'll know what I mean. People who don't, that the induction is the way you would start to go into trance. So first I would ask people's permission. Is okay if we do hypnotic induction? Are you comfortable, safe, relaxed? This is not going to take you particularly, it's not intended to take you deep, but you might be able to go into a deep, relaxed state.
This is sort of like a nice preview, an introduction to it.
Yeah.
And,
so,
and you're by yourself. You can't be looking foolish to anybody, so you're in a safe spot.
That's right. That's right. Well, you might be in a living room with your whole family right now, but I'm not so sure about that.
If you're in a living room with your entire family, they should be participating too.
Exactly. I'm fascinated by, and ironically, by the behavior of eyes in trance, the eyeballs in trance. There's actually a lot going on with the eyes, and I apologize again for my weird eye. So I noticed that when people tended to go into trance, and sometimes people do this in conversation, you'll talk to somebody and they'll say to somebody, you ask them a question like, how long you were in town for, and you'll see them sort of lift up their eyes, and their eyes actually will start to flicker. And they actually are going into a mild trance state at that moment. Now, I've also noticed that when you put people into trance, the first state is often these flickering or fluttering eyes. I use the word flutter and flicker because from the outside, you see fluttering. If you're inside looking out, you see flickering. You see it's like the lights are flickering. That's how you know it's happening. So I notice that when your eyes are flickering, you tend to feel more relaxed. It's as if it produces a chemistry. So the flicker induction, so this induction is called the flicker induction. The idea is fairly simple. You just take a deep breath in to start to relax. So we're actually going to do the flicker induction. This is how it works. You might put your feet flat on the floor. Make sure you're safe and relaxed. There's nothing pointy near you. Then, when you're ready, take a deep breath in. Now, roll your eyes up kind of until they start to flicker. And if you can just relax, you can allow them to flicker. It looks a little bit weird, but when they flicker, the trick is to notice the relaxing chemistry that comes from the flickering eyes. And you can bring that relaxing chemistry into your eyes. So your eyes relax. And then you bring that same relaxing chemistry into your head. So your head relaxes. Once it's in your head, you go all the way down your body to your feet. And then if you like, you can go right into a deep, relaxing sleep state by saying to yourself, deep and relaxing sleep. And then you just hypnotize yourself into trance. So it's a simple, fairly elementary way to go into a fairly quick trance. Though, and what's interesting for the hypnotists, it's useful as a starting step. So meaning it may just be the beginning of your hypnotic induction. It may not go on you may go on to other things, is my point. So I was going to show you maybe another induction I do too, called the float induction, which is similar. Float induction is the same principle. The idea is when you go into trance, you tend to roll your eyes up. But
actually, Albert, why don't you do a floating induction so people could this is what it's like.
Sure.
Just take them through it.
So I sort of explain the principle first, and then of course.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood where you were going.
Yeah. So float induction is a similar idea, but floating induction goes a little bit further. It's the idea that people's eyes roll up. So first one, the flicker induction, their eyes flicker. This one, we're really trying to get our eyes to roll up. And the difference, this is an interesting thing. The difference between people who tend to go deeper in trance than people who don't go deep in trance is their eyes tend to roll up. So I started asking the question, okay, how do you roll your eyes up further than, let's say, you might normally roll them up? So the trick is multiple tries. And I found that 4 was the sweet spot. So this is how you do the float induction. What you do is make sure you're comfortable, relaxed, put your feet flat on the floor, ready to go. Take a deep breath in. Roll your eyes up as far as you can once. Then do it again. Then try a little bit further. And then the 4th time, roll your eyes back as far as you can. Release your breath and say to yourself, just float. And you just float into a relaxed and calm state. And most people who do this will describe going into just a light, relaxed, floating trance. So I wanted to throw one other thing at you too. This is just funny because I thought of this when I thought, I'm going to be doing hypnotic inductions on this show. And I thought, I thought, what I've noticed, I just know you don't always get to chance to talk to other hypnotists. And I thought you guys are going to get this. When you see people go into really deep trance, their eyes roll up, but they're also closed. So they look a bit like this. Now, what's interesting is if you talk to those people, their eyes move around. If you say to them, and you see this sort of rapid or dramatic movement of their eyes moving all over the place while you're talking to them. So I've interviewed people after this experience, and I say, well, what were you seeing? And they're seeing, it's like a bit like a movie where I'm seeing what you're describing. Like maybe you're walking down a path.
The inside of your forehead is the screen, and you're in the front row looking straight up.
Aha! So this is called the movie theater induction. And so I have a debate with people. Where is the movie theater? I actually think the movie theater, my sense is that the movie theater is kind of in the screen. The movie screen is actually in the back of the head. I'm not sure about this, but I think so. The eyes roll up enough that you kind of look back. You're kind of looking back or up, but it might be up, but it looks back or up. So the induction goes like this. Ask you to take a deep breath in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Allow your eyes to roll back as far as you can, and imagine that there's a movie theater in the back of your head. A movie screen. And when you stare at that screen, you see that there is like a countdown, the way there is before movies. And you watch it go 5, watch the count, 4, and as you relax more and more, 3, it counts down, 2, 1, and now you go into a beautiful and relaxing sleep. So I just had this idea an hour before the show, but I'm going to try to elaborate on it. I think there's more to it.
Oh, definitely. Keep refining it.
Is your view that the movie theater is up here or back here?
For me, it's on like, I kind of just say like, it's like the backside of my forehead. Because sometimes when I'm talking to people, and I remember a lady that I dated a number of years ago, when we first met, and I'm probably 15 years maybe, she's like, I got to ask you something. She's like, I'm not being rude, but she's like, when we're talking, she goes, I notice like you don't look me in the eye. You'll go tell stories and it's like you're looking off to the side a little bit. And I'm like, okay, here's where we're going to kind of open up a little bit. And I was like, we kind of had this running joke of like the Asperger's, however you pronounce it. And I'm like, there's like a little autistic part of me. And she goes, it's not just that. Like she asked me something about the bathroom door lock. And she goes, why is it doing that? And she goes, you started to talk and then you stopped mid-sentence and you just stared for stuff. And I was like, yeah, because what I'm doing is like I'm looking off and like I'm watching a video or a memory and I'm telling you what I see. And then when I'm looking at the door lock or I'm staring at something, it's like this animated, 3-dimensional, exploded view of something of like, how does it all work? There's probably some Rain Man type stuff in there. And I'm like, all right, I'm trying to figure that out. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, I can fix that. Or, okay, this is what we need, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the closest way that I can describe it. And your mileage may vary. And
yeah, I think it's interesting that this is not, again, researched, because I would say that when people go into trance, they exhibit or deep trance, the same behavior. Their eyes roll up in the same way. And they appear to be looking. The reason why I put the movie theater in the back, I think you're sort of saying like it can be here, it can be there, which I know that in NLP, memory, things from the past, things from the future are in different parts, and that reflects sometimes parts of the brain. I know that the optical cortex, which is the vision centers of the brain, are sort of behind the eyes and back. So I started wondering, and I don't know this, but I just started wondering, is when people are in trance and they're kind of looking at their memories or their imagination, I wonder if they're literally looking inside their own optical cortex.
Yeah.
Becca, and I'm really glad to hear that the theater induction worked. I've never done it before. I've never done it.
Because the movie theater thing, it takes me back to when my younger brother and I were super, we were really young, elementary school, middle school, maybe. And it was like, you go to the theater and you try to be in the front row because everything's just been hyped. Like the front row is the best for a concert or whatever it is. And we're reclined back in the chairs, but we're also hunched down way far so that we could see the sharp angle going up. And my mom and stepdad are like, yeah, you guys go down there, knock yourselves out. They're 20 rows back going, we just had a nice relaxed view over everybody. We didn't have to have the eye strain. Our necks aren't sore. You don't appreciate that until you've matured out of your youth. But that's the best way that I could describe it.
It's really interesting. I mean, what I do the same things that are hypnotic, and that I think movies, by definition, movies are hypnotic, meaning, and movie theaters, like what you're describing is hypnotic experience. Excuse me, and it's the reason why people get really upset when your head is sticking in the way, or things like that, or people are eating popcorn really loud. It's because the people want to be in trance. They're like, I want to be in trance. Don't eat popcorn so loud because it's taking me out of trance.
Or if you're Ralphie May watching Out to Sea or whatever that diving movie is, and he's like, you don't want other people behind you talk about scuba diving. He does a whole comedy bit on that stuff, but
right, because, and again, it's because you want full absorption, which is all. And what's interesting too is this is why. How come people will pay to go see movies and still do, obviously, when they can kind of watch them on TV sometimes? And I would say because the movie experience is more like good hypnosis, where if you watch a good movie, you come out of it feeling refreshed, even a little bit healed. And that's similar to REM stage hypnosis.
It's comical to me because a friend of mine's a sheriff's deputy. He and I go way back. And so he was working it was like overtime security. So the uniformed officers come into whichever venue in Seattle that Taylor Swift came in. And he's like, it's absolutely hilarious how many people will pay ungodly amounts of money to come see an entertainer in person, and they watch half the show through the screen of their phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. I'm like, I'll go out and just enjoy the experiences because they're in here. Yeah.
This is one of the great mysteries, like the inside movie theater versus the outside movie theater. I find, again, like, I don't know why there's not more research about it. I don't know why it's not better understood.
Well, there's a lot of psychology, especially in advertising and just business. I was having a conversation with a lady earlier this evening, and I was like, it's fascinating to me about what makes people tick and how the human mind works. And, for example, you find, like, the next time that you go into a bar or a pub, there's probably about a 60% chance that if you're at the bar staring across at all the bottles and stuff on the back wall, there's probably some type of mirror. And subconsciously, if there's a conflict, you're going to see yourself in your peripheral vision, and you don't want to see yourself making an ass of yourself with the bartender, or losing your temper or getting frustration. And so it also kind of helps people, also they can look in that mirror and kind of see behind them, so no one's going to walk up behind them and scare them or anything. And it's a lot of stuff that it helps calm things down.
I did not know that. You mean that they put mirrors in bars to sort of say, like, to make people self-conscious in a way, or
so like I'm the bartender. Directly in front of me is the bar top, and then behind me, there's going to be a mirror, and then all of the shelving and stuff is going to be in front of it, so you can see through the shelving, and there's a reflection. One, it makes the space look bigger, but there's that other psychological component to that. It's kind of a safety thing for the bartenders, because they want to be able to de-escalate stuff as much as possible.
Of course, they're dealing with drunk people. Yeah. Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. Well,
yeah. And if you throw something and you break a mirror, there's that whole 7 years of bad luck superstition, and it's not legal to hang a black cat from the bar by its tail, because it's frowned upon. But it's quite interesting. There's so much stuff, like they don't put clocks in casinos.
Right.
You'll find that out in the Vegas trip.
Yeah. I know. And there's also like a kind of, from the moment you arrive in Las Vegas, there's a constant hum of
Clang, clang,
background.
clang, 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 ding, 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 just noise.
Doesn't matter where you are. It's always there, and it's seemed to be like done deliberately.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we would know what that is in hypnosis. Is like a trigger. I mean, they're just like you associate that sound with like sitting at slot machines or whatever you do in a casino. And yeah,
Well, there's also a social, kind of like an implied social contract of, you're in Vegas, you can let loose. You know, you're supposed to tip people there. You know, so when you go, like, we'll be down on Fremont Street, and so they've got these little circles painted on the ground, and that's where the performers can, you know, that's like their spot. And, you know, they have little teeny tiny signs that they're required to put out that says the performers cannot ask you for money because, you know, they're busking and it's just voluntary gratuity. And but they make those signs super small, and you'll have like gorgeous women with the bikini stuff and the feathers and headdress and everything like that. And they're gorgeous. And then they go, "We'll take pictures." All right, cool. And then they go, "Yeah, it's a donation," or, you know, we only do tips. And then they kind of just stop and stare at you, and you're like, "Oh God!" Now you're having this mental thing. I'm like, I'm with my buddies, and, you know, how much is too much and not enough, and do I want to look like that chump? And they just kind of go, "All right." You know, in car sales, they'll draw out a figure and everything, and then they go, "What do you think about that?" And then they'll just stop and shut up. That they'll have that uncomfortable silence, and then people want to just talk.
right. And they're going to talk about like whether or not they're going to buy the car or not, or yeah.
Or they're going to divulge some type of information that's going to lead to, all right, here's the next challenge that we need to overcome an objection, or get us to the next point of the, you know, the next step or the next level of commitment to complete the sale or the transaction.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, famously, also they even use compliance sets, and yeah, there's a lot of scary psychology going on, just in sales in general. But yeah,
No, it's really interesting. Like, there's the guy that I've talked about several times. His name is Chris Voss from the Black Swan Group, and he talks about, like, don't, you know, they're like, oh, you know, in sales, it's the whole thing of you get enough yeses and you get that momentum, and then you go, are we ready to proceed? And it's like, he doesn't realize, like, no, you want to ask the questions that are no oriented. Are you against this? Did I catch you at a bad time if I called you on the phone? No, it's not a bad time. Or, yeah, it is a bad time. Let me, you know, give me 20 minutes, or can you call me tomorrow? Yeah. Okay, cool. You don't want people to feel pressured, because if they feel like they're pressured, it's like you got them once, and then they're going to just start to avoid you. And that's not the rapport that you want to have with people. And that's not the reputation that you want to bring. You want to deal ethically with people, honestly, and straightforward, and be transparent with them.
mm-hmm. Right. That's why you don't want to be running compliance if you're really, regularly, I would say. I mean, once in a while. I mean, unless they know that you're doing it, in the case of hypnosis or hypnotherapy.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff about, like, just our current language gets so twisted, and it's like saying, oh, you know, any manipulation is bad. And I'm like, well, if I changed your opinion or your viewpoint on smoking, drinking, something that was not conducive to a healthy lifestyle, is that bad? Now, manipulation for unethical or immoral or even illegal things, yeah, absolutely, that's bad.
And the reality is we're being manipulated all the time. I mean, particularly like Instagram. I feel every time I look at Instagram, I feel like I'm being manipulated. Somebody pointed out this interesting thing too, that so many apps are based on this sort of scanning behavior. So you scan through like this, and then of course there's Tinder where you scan through like that. But though that behavior is similar to the eye behaviors of people that are induced into trance, and so this you are engaging in trance, which also explain this the time distortion. We know when people go into trance, they experience time distortion. And I find that's totally true. I go on Instagram and I'm like, what? It's 8:30. Or, suddenly all this time vanished.
The most common stuff that I get is people are like, I felt like I was asleep for a week, or I just woke up from like one of those naps that you just, hey, let me lay down for 5 minutes, and like the next thing you know, it's like a day and a half later, and I'm like, how? Oh my god, how long was I out? I'm like 2.5 minutes, 3. It really wasn't. I'm like, God, I feel like I just took like a 2-hour nap. This is amazing. I feel refreshed. And I'm like, yeah, pretty cool, isn't it? Magic show. That's
a good show. Yeah.
If you can have somebody have a positive or even a pleasurable experience, the first time you do that to and like give that gift to somebody, oh, dude, you feel like a god.
Yeah. Yeah, we know this stuff is wonderful.
And yeah, I encourage anybody who is struggling with anything, whether it's interesting because the like your grad night, your proms, and your entertainment comedy shows tend to be more of a introduction or a sample of what's it's a playful and non-threatening introduction to hypnosis. And then when Jim and I go do shows, it's inevitable that we'll have somebody come up to us afterwards and go, can you use hypnosis for insert social or medical ailment here, anxiety, weight loss, smoking, what may have you? And we're like, yeah, Jim, she needs a card.
It's an interesting angle that I don't think a lot of people talk about. What's the world capital of stage hypnosis or even hypnotherapy? It's America. And like for example, like I've traveled in Europe, like, that stage hypnosis is illegal in Belgium. It's illegal. In France, it's really seen as like exotic and strange. There's a lot of it in the UK. But if you go across Europe, it's really seen in this more, both hypnotherapy and stage hypnosis is seen as particularly exotic. And
Grant Saunders was saying there's a lot of hoops that he has to jump through in England and the UK.
That's right. There's a lot of legal issues. And my best guess explanation is like some people would say, I really think it's a strange outcome of there being no public health insurance in America, which is because in America you have insurance plans and people have some control over their insurance plan, and some people will seek the best thing to help them. They will go and pay for hypnotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but you can't do that in the UK. There's the public healthcare system either has this, it's either in it or it's out. So hypnotherapy is not in the public healthcare system.
Which is awesome. Like people who do their own recordings that are, very, very affordable, to download, and they can listen to them on their own. And hypnosis in general should not be, a singular cure for anything. Jim and I were having a conversation the other day. It was, Scott and I were having a conversation, and I was like, hypnosis should probably be something that augments just overall health and wellness.
Right. Not presented as a cure. I mean, I think there are some examples where maybe it could be, but you're right. I think it's often at its best as an augmentation. Yeah.
Like I was dealing with some stuff from the military, with a PTSD diagnosis, and working with Jim and Dan Hedrick, and also Nora. I saw her name pop up earlier. I remember I think the big one was working with Dan, and I did a 1-day thing with him, and I called him a couple weeks later, and I was like, Dan, like, dude, I'm off every single medication, prescription in a matter of probably a week and a half, taper everything off. And I was like, a lot of the side effects and everything I'm not experiencing. and we were, admittedly, it was like the medications at the time. It was like, okay, I need this Band-Aid to stop the bleeding. Okay, now that stopped, okay, now I need to actually go heal and deal with this properly. And the hypnosis was, I mean, what the relief that I got from hypnosis, like no prescription medication is gonna touch.
I agree.
Because it's all in here and in here.
Yeah, no side effects also, and it's ultimately, when it's done right, it's empowering for the person. They realize they can apply it to other aspects of their life, and
my side effect was in improved lifestyle and just well-being. So but yeah, it's good stuff. But and then what part of this world are you joining us from tonight?
I'm from Montreal right now. I'm in Kingston, which is like on the coast, sort of the east coast of Lake Ontario.
Okay.
Yeah,
there's a Kingston that is just a quick ferry ride across the Puget Sound.
There's a lot of Kingstons. There's another Kingston in upstate New York, and of course there's a big one in Jamaica. Yeah, it's funny. And it's like it's an effect of British colonialism that like 5 cities were named Kingston, probably more. Which
Albert, hold 1 second. I know Becca's joining us from the UK, and it's the middle of the night over there. So Becca, I want you to just take a big deep breath for me. You've had a big day and a lot of stuff going on with the holidays and family and work and everything like that. So you just inhale, nice big deep breath, and as you exhale, you're just going to feel yourself floating and dropping and drifting and falling right into sleep, a nice trance. And as the more snaps, you're just feeling wonderful and excellent, absolutely wonderful. And 3, 2, 1 until you need to wake up tomorrow and sleep, drifting, dropping, falling. And we'll see you next time. Okay.
And with that,
it's a great show. It's half information, half lullabies, and half sleep assistance.
Yeah, and Becca's been a long time, participant on the show.
Okay,
and she's actually joined us on the live, because it was like 2:00 in the morning where she was at. It was like, okay, I can go on video and thumbs up and some chat communications, just to be cognizant of everybody else in the house. But she's been pretty awesome with stuff. So when she goes, hey, can you do this? Bang. And she's out. So she's, and a lot of the hypnosis stuff is, I think she's a great example. The conditioning. You can use hypnosis for an anchor when somebody feels like a panic attack coming on. You can go, okay, here's a subtle thing. You touch your wrist or your hand or something that's very, very subtle, and you're like, I can bring these feelings of peace and tranquility, and you don't have to have like a full freak out in public. So it's a tool for just dealing with life.
Yeah.
But
we know that.
I know you and Shawn, you guys are a couple hours ahead, and it's getting on into the evening. I'm gonna go get myself some dinner here shortly. But thank you so much for coming on and joining us.
Thank you. It was a really great experience. It was really, thank you.
A lot of interesting information.
I was going to say, on behalf of Brian and Albert and Jim, who's hopefully sleeping, not liking everything that's on TikTok right now. Jim?
You're watching his responses on TikTok, aren't you?
Well, I'm watching everything. He's probably surprised we're still on. It's been a really good conversation, though. No doubt about it. This is, in my mind, in terms of information and things that we've learned tonight, definitely in my top 10.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
so I mean, the sexual stuff, as far as like the experiences and everything, that was pretty interesting, both from just a clinical side and even just a curiosity type thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of mystery there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and especially when you're like, different genders can experience the other, and I'm like,
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
like there's the analytical
I saw
part of my brain
I saw your brain go tilt there, Brian, when Albert said that.
it's like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Like, so here's sort of like the literal and analytical side of me. Like, if somebody says, hey, some of my friends are in law enforcement, and a friend of mine's a narcotics canine guy. And I'm like, dude, I have no idea what crack cocaine smells like or meth or anything like that. And so we do a ride along and he's like, okay, that smell right there, that's this or marijuana or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. I can associate that. I don't have girl parts and women don't have my parts. So I'd be curious, like, how do they know that this is actually what they're experiencing is accurate? And I'm not doubting you. It's just more of like, that's my brain kind of goes on both sides of the aisle sometimes.
That's the research. That's the research right there.
No, I'm definitely looking forward to when that stuff comes out.
Yeah, the trailer's Jim's in the trailer. It's pretty good, I think, and it's gonna be out in the new year. It's not the film is out a little bit later, but there's an interesting trailer coming out soon.
Point of clarification: Jim's not having the orgasm, right?
Jim's not having an orgasm.
Okay,
no.
good. There are some things I can't unsee. So,
all right. So on behalf of everybody here, we will see you next week with another of our Hypnosis Heroes. That will be the last one of 2024. It's amazing. It's been what, 2 years since I joined on. So,
yeah, and then we're gonna be traveling again. Jim was gonna he's gonna check on hotel stuff if they can do a brief extension so I can get stuff booked.
Nice.
Because I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys again down in Vegas. It'll be a good trip.
Oh yeah,
awesome. Yes, performing hypnosis coming up.
Albert, you're missing out with all the stuff that's on the docket.
Yeah. I wish I could go. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see.
I'll give a quick shout out to Kevin Lapine and Catherine Hickland, who are just some wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah, brilliant.
So,
all right.
With that,
so,
happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yep.
Merry Christmas. Have a great break.
Happy holidays to everybody, and
thank you.
Be safe and stay free, guys.
All right.
Yep. As Jim would say, take care, be well,
stay beautiful. Yeah.
No, he's the pretty one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Take care.